Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run for the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, as we are going to see warmer conditions over the next 5 days or so. Not quite as hot as it was on Thursday and Friday for many, but it still is going to be widely low to mid 20s this upcoming working week, much warmer than the first half of July. Precipitation is going to be very changeable. We are going to see plenty of dry conditions, but we are also going to be seeing some persistent rain in the north and west and showers further south and eastwards. And with that added warmth this week, we could see some more intense showers and even a few thunderstorms, especially in the second half of the week. As we head into the longer range throughout the rest of July and early August, it does look like we are going to be seeing those warmer conditions prevail more often than not, and a lot of the runs are showing some more intense bursts of heat, similar to what we saw last week, maybe even more intense than that, appearing in the next couple of weeks, which you do need to keep a very close eye on, because we can see these bursts of heat suddenly giving us 30 to 35 degrees at very short notice, like we saw last week. Some runs, even like the GFS, have had something a little bit more prolonged, potentially even a heat wave appearing. So if you are looking forward to something much hotter and summery and persistent, not just a one-day wonder or two-day wonder like we saw last week, then some of the runs today are very encouraging indeed. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe. And remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. Now, if you start on the live radar, you can see that most areas are dry this evening, recording this around 8 PM, but there is a bit of rain moving in for Northern Ireland and for Scotland, Northern England. It is just a transient little system that is bringing moderate to heavy rain in these areas, but it will pass through this evening, and for most tomorrow it will be relatively dry. Today, it's not been too hot or very warm. It's been sort of low 20s, but we've still got a lot of humidity around following the very hot conditions late last working week. But again, many today around the 23 to 24 degree mark. So kind of perfect summery conditions, but still feeling a bit stuffy in places, as I said, because of all that heat we did have last week. And as I said, these temperatures are going to continue throughout the much of this week. Could even peak around 26, 27 if we're lucky at some point later this week, but most are going to be around that 20 to 25 degree mark. Now, if you look at the latest UKV, you can see that rain moving through this evening, and it will slowly peter out as we head into Monday morning. There could be a few dribs and drabs left behind through the late morning, but for most tomorrow it is reasonably dry with a few showers, a bit more thicker cloud and some decent sunshine for many. As we head into Tuesday, some rain showers still moving through, maybe a little bit heavy and thundery at times into Tuesday morning, and then to Tuesday afternoon, look at that, pretty decent, mostly sunny with a few showers popping up in those areas of cloud. As we head into Wednesday, a bit more in terms of heavy rain moving in from the west, and these could be these thunderstorms that I said a minute ago that could be heading in for the second half of the week. For most though, especially for central and eastern areas, pretty warm and pretty dry. But into Thursday, you see more precipitation moving in, and for Thursday, lots of heavy, thundery rain, especially through the morning, before moving away into the afternoon, and just leaving a bit more thicker cloud and a few lighter showers. So yeah, pretty intense indeed. Maybe Wednesday to Thursday, to keep a close eye on that. And then you can see as we head into Friday, again, very dry conditions for many, as we do see a lot of that instability moving away. As I said, this week isn't going to be completely out of this world in terms of heat, but it is going to be much warmer than it's been recently. You can see a lot of the warmth we had late last week is being swept away, but we are going to keep relatively warm air masses as we do see upper temperatures return to double digits by Monday for some, and that kind of continues through much of the week, hovering around the high single digits or low double digits. You see a very warm air mass there Wednesday through to Thursday, and again that could spark those thunderstorms. But equally, if we see dry conditions through Wednesday and Thursday, could spark the temperatures as well up towards the high 20s, and eventually you can see it does get moved away, but we still remain fairly warm through much of this week. Now, if we do actually have a look at those temperatures, you can see this afternoon, widely around the high teens, low 20s. It has actually got slightly warmer than this is showed, a bit more sunshine around, so more around that 23, 24 mark in some areas. And then as we head into Monday, again, temperatures pretty decent. Not out of this world, but again, getting up towards maybe the 22 to 24 degree mark for many areas. As we head into Tuesday, temperatures will rise equally, back up towards that 20 to 24 degree mark. And you see it's up and down the country, even up towards Scotland, getting towards the 20 or 21 degree mark across the central belt. So it's not just England exclusive, it's widely across the British Isles. As we head into Wednesday, the temperatures could rise slightly higher, maybe 25, 26, as we see that wedge of very warm air move in, and the same could be said for Thursday, but it will depend on the shower and thunderstorm activity. Thursday, they're a little bit more sporadic with those temperatures because of the showers, cloud and thunderstorms. So have to keep a close eye on that. But you can see generally temperatures hovering around the 20 to 25 degree mark, maybe could eclipse that Wednesday, Thursday if we're lucky. Now, if you have a look at the longer range, start on the latest GFS, which does actually show a heatwave pattern to end its run. Now, over the coming days, you can see it's a westerly wind, but we are going to see southwesterly or southerly incursions at times, and that's why the upper temperatures could spike. And you can see into next week, we could see high pressure nudging up from the south, bringing a very warm air mass for a time. We could see initially it's particularly warm in the far southeast later this week, slightly fresher conditions as the high pressure builds in, but as it establishes itself, it could drack up a very intense air mass in the far southeast, with around 15 degrees at 850 HPA being brought in. Again, it's difficult to distinguish exactly what is a hot air mass here, but the best way is to look at the temperature deviation, and you can see instead of blues over the top of us, we're seeing more yellows and oranges, especially across England and Wales. Further northwards, still seeing some weather fronts trying to push in. It could be a little bit more changeable, unfortunately, but for many across the south, you can see much of northern and western Europe is yellow or orange, indicating above average temperatures. And in the end of July and early August, that is basically 25 to 30 degrees, maybe even higher than that. So GFS going for something a little bit more prolonged and a little bit hotter. And if we do zoom in, you can see this well defined here, widely mid to high 20s across the south and the east. Could get hotter than that if we saw this prolong further. You can see much of Europe is towards 30 plus degrees. And again, the only reason why it's not widespread is because of a little low pressure system to the north trying to bring in slightly fresher air mass. You can see this slightly fresher air across Scotland trying to be brought southwards, fighting against the hot higher pressure. We'll have to wait and see for that. But encouraging signs of the GFS of something hotter and more sustained. The reason why I'm putting a bit of weight behind this is because the ensembles and other runs do have a similar pattern. Now, if you look at the latest GEM, again, we've got the westerly flow over the next few days, but with a southwesterly tilt, it's going to be warmer than average generally. You can see into next week, though, that high pressure system builds in, and it builds in more to our east, which allows a southerly flow. And look at this big wall of heat moving up from the south, pushing our way. Now, again, it doesn't look sustained because we have still got a relatively mobile jet stream, but could be incredibly intense for a short period of time early next week. The 20 degree isotherm moves in. That's 35 to 40 degree territory. Maybe not here because of the moisture we have around after a relatively wet past few weeks, and because the temperatures haven't been particularly insane this summer so far, so I highly doubt we'll even get close to 38, 39, 40 with these sort of conditions. But mid-30s, wouldn't doubt that at all. And you see the temperature deviation is exceptionally intense, off the scale, above 12 degrees above average there. And if we do zoom into the United Kingdom temperatures, you can see we would be easily reaching the mid-20s, high 20s, maybe even mid to high 30s across Europe. It will depend on the exact upper air temperatures, exact timings as well, because it looks like the hottest air actually moves through here overnight, which would restrict it quite significantly. But we'll have to wait and see how that does play out. If we do put those two temperatures on, you can see again we're looking widely at mid to high 20s. Could be slightly hotter, could be slightly cooler, but it will all depend on how swiftly that air mass does move through. But regardless, GM going intense with the heat towards the end of this run. We have to keep a very close eye on that. So that could be pretty bad indeed if we did get that sort of air mass in. That is, as I said, the sort of air mass that does give us our high 30 degree temperatures. Now, if you look at the latest ECMWF, this has just come out. It is the latest 12 o'clock run. Again, westerly flow at the moment. Southwesterly winds coming in most of the time, which means it's going to be warmer than average. Next week, high pressure builds in. And again, it's got this southerly tilt. And that means that hot air is getting drawn up from the south. And here at day 10, even though we're not directly tapping into it, look at all that heat across Spain, Portugal, the Mediterranean, Italy, and France. Could be pretty hot indeed here, and said it could creep our way. Encouraging signs if you enjoy summery conditions for these air masses heading our way. And you can see from the latest ensembles that there is some support for it. Now you can see it's very up and down over the next 5 days or so. Could be a bit of a spike of heat maybe next week. Again, a little bit up and down with that, but it's that longer range trajectory of more average to above average temperatures, and you can see the operational GFS there going very warm indeed. Now you can see the ensemble mean isn't actually deviating all too far from average, so you do have a lot of more average runs there, and that is those fresher air masses coming in from the northwest. And this is why sometimes these ensemble charts don't show the full picture, as the majority of these runs are pulling in that very hot air to our south, just not quite pushing it in at all or for a prolonged period of time. Hence, that the upper air temperatures aren't spiking here, really. But the pattern only has to change ever so slightly. So far this summer, we haven't had hot air near us at all, really, and that meant the chance of anything hot is minimal, even if the wind direction changes at very short notice, which is possible, whether it tilts from a west to southwesterly or a southwest to a southerly. Those sort of changes can happen in a few days' notice. But if there's no hot air to tap into, then there's zero chance. In this sort of scenario, hot air looks like it could be abundant to our south. If we did see any southerly tilt, which some of those operational runs were showing, that is where we could see the big heat. So I'm not going to say we're going to see a heat wave. I'm not going to say we're going to see definitely some very hot weather. But the chances from the looks of these runs has substantially increased, or is going to substantially increase in the next week or two. And if you compare it to the ECMWF ensemble, which has have a look at the midnight run, you see those chances are even higher here. More above average temperatures, very little average to below average. So it does look like the GFS is lagging behind slightly. You can see here around that end of July, early August point, in around weeks to 10 days time, a lot of runs going towards the mid-teens, higher teens, including the midnight ECMWF run. So it could be very hot indeed. And if we do put on those 2 meter temperatures, you can see that again, widely getting towards the mid-20s, maybe even high 20s. Again, the ensembles don't we normally deal with 2 meter temperature too well, but you can see the broad picture is more towards that high 20s, 30 degree mark. We'll have to wait and see exactly how it does play out, but this is kind of the first time through the summer that I have got some optimism that some heat could be coming our way. Not just a little shock blast of heat like we saw last week, where we got a bit of a warm sector in for a day or two, coinciding with daytime and dry weather, hence 32 degrees or around a 32. This could be something a little bit more intense, a little bit more forecastable. Like, we might actually be able to have a good go at forecasting this more than just a few days out. And as I say, could be a bit more widespread as well, and more sustained. We'll have to wait and see. But as I said, very encouraging signs if you're looking forward to some proper hot summery weather. If you're not, and you've enjoyed the wetter, more cooler conditions, which to be honest haven't been too bad, then it doesn't look great here. Definitely does look like some real scope for some proper summer heat in the near future. We'll have to wait and see. But anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.